welcome back to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. I am here with my guest, Drew, and Drew is an expert in all things e-commerce. He's been in the Amazon e-commerce space for 15 years, and he is truly an expert in this. And before the break, we talked about being true, being honest, really expressing and not being afraid to take a stand, because sometimes that's what brings people to your brand and it helps you to stand out in the marketplace. Another couple of really key things he talked about specifically with e-commerce was really setting yourself apart, having really good photos. Folks, we can't just have like really crap photos on our websites anymore and expect it to go anywhere. That is so 15 years ago, is not what's happening today. But I want to hit on something that's real and relevant and in the topic of discussion, and that's TikTok. Because I know that you've done things and you've got partnerships all over the place. There's always new emergent social media platforms, etc. And now we're facing TikTok. Might go dark, might not go dark. Who knows what's going to happen? What is your take on this, and how is this impacting e-commerce in your business?
Jen, this is a great conversation, and I think of Gary Vee a lot of times when I'm saying stuff, because he always pulls like a 10-year photo or a 10-year clip of him and it's like him saying the same thing today, and he's like, I told you like 10 years ago, you know. And I think of that in these moments sometimes, like saying something and then seeing what happens down the road and staying consistent to some of those things, even though there's change involved as well. When it comes to TikTok, you know, this would be the first time in our history that the federal government has shut down a technology like this that's like open to the public. It's never happened. There, you know, we allow Tinder and Bumble and all these other things that exist, and we're talking about TikTok and TikTok Shop. And my marketing agency, Marknology, is a TikTok partner. You know, first it was pioneering Amazon, but as Walmart and TikTok Shop and Chewy and these things have come online and improved and gotten better, they've gathered our attention. So we're really a marketplace agency now. We've been on TikTok for a couple of years now, TikTok Shop even more recently. So I've been living and breathing it. And honestly, I don't see it going anywhere. I think in some ways it's a ploy to just get more attention to it. There's never been more viewers on TikTok than right now. There's been some crazy stuff. There's something called, it's like the Red One. Have you heard of this Red One? Okay, so Red One is like the Chinese version of TikTok. And there's been this huge exodus from TikTok users to go to Red One, and it's almost all strictly in Mandarin. And they're like welcoming these US TikTok users as like refugees. And it's like super funny, so you'll have to like check it out.
I definitely will.
So there's been like this like migration. But honestly, there might be a pause from being able to download it on the App Store or the Google Play Store. But you know, the next day, I think it's the 19th, the next day is when Trump gets inaugurated. Okay, and there's been a huge swing in Trump's perspective toward TikTok from last campaign to this one, and he's very pro TikTok now. And I see it as almost this like win with Gen Z to like approve it and bring it back and find a way for us to still have TikTok here. So I'm making kind of a bold prediction, but you know, inside my agency, inside the partnership, is business as usual. Honestly, right now we're proceeding, we're still setting up brands and moving forward. I could be wrong, but I really see like maybe even some like a little drama around not being able to download it, some policy like that. But I think within a couple of weeks, I see us coming back. It's a huge amount of GMV, you know, here in the US, a huge amount of business. It's going to go somewhere. And the American users are like, we'll even go to the TikTok app. So like the whole point was to not have a Chinese company having all of our user data information for national security, I guess, you know, so that point is null and void. I think it's just a little bit of a play, and I think it's only going to make TikTok more popular.
Fantastic. Well, you heard his prediction here first, folks, and if he's right, then he's going to have the amazing art of saying, I told you so. So something that I want to kind of dial into, because I think it's really applicable to everybody here, is scaling. You started in one area, you mastered the art of scaling your brand, and pivoting and doing what you needed to do to stay viable and continue to grow, but also now you are helping scale and exit brands and doing that in a consulting manner and through everything that you're doing. What is the key or the secret sauce, or what can our entrepreneurs and executives take away regarding exiting and scaling brand?
Okay, so let's take it into two parts, just like the scaling part, because you can scale your business and not be preparing to exit.
Oh,
right?
true,
So,
true.
And you know, as a young business person, I come from literally a missionary family. I didn't have anyone I knew in business. I didn't go to business school. I was really going for different reasons. So it's been a crash course for me. And I was just ingesting books, podcasts. And it was always cash flow and scaling. That was the difficulties that would hold someone back from being successful in business. So those have always been my priorities. I think I'm like, look, if I know nothing, focus on these two things, we might make it. And, so I was bootstrapped. I've bootstrapped everything I've built. We're a team of like 30 now at Marknology. And so I've been somewhat successful scaling a service-based business, even more, 10 times, 100 times more successful scaling Amazon brands that are e-com, D2C brands. It's a lot different, right, than a B2B model. And on Amazon, there's all these systems, and on the marketplace, there's all these systems that you can put in place to help you scale. And so it's really having a professional kind of come in, tell you where you can improve, where you can scale, whether it's inventory, whether it's supply chain, whether it's acquiring other products close to what you're doing or developing them from scratch, whether it's acquiring another business and their customer list. There's a million ways to scale, honestly. Whatever you do, I like the bootstrap method because I think it just causes you naturally to be a little bit more intentional about where you're spending your money, where you're growing it. It grows a little bit slower, a little bit more naturally, and I think it's a little easier to hold that growth than when you're just bringing in big investment from the outside. Now, that being said, the other one can be a lot more fun because it can be like, you can just go 0 to 100 real quick, so to speak.
Yeah, there's also something called scaling too fast.
Right, and that's what I'm getting at, right? It's like, you can scale in so many different areas, and that's why I'm saying going slower is honestly a lot of times more effective because you're growing in a healthy way, right? Versus like, if you lose a ton of weight all at once, that can be unhealthy, versus a natural way of losing weight in a healthier way. Same thing as scaling. I think sometimes you can scale too quick. You can lose culture. You can lose your eye on the ball, the product, the customers, which are the things that really make a business stay. And then the exiting part. So scaling, a lot of times it is scale to exit. And this is something that has honestly been my 5-year plan, for 10 years probably, truthfully. And really what I built with Marknology is a digital construction crew that across all the marketplaces, Shopify, Amazon, we can do it. From my content team to my writing team to my ads team, we know how to do it, we've done it. And now set up in a place that I can take a business, maybe a struggling business or a business that needs cash flow or a business that needs talent or resources, and come in with my team of Marknology and really fix it up, kind of like a house flip or anything else like that. And it's a lot of fun. I still have a lot of fun doing that. And so I've done that for a lot of people through the last 10 years in the agency. The last 3 or 4, I'm doing that for myself and partners that I have. So it's a little bit more like my piece of the pie. But it's a lot of times finding relationships I've worked with in the past are coming to me. It's not always just like strangers that I'm coming across. People I've worked with through the last 10 years that are like, if I'm going to have someone help me exit this or scale it, I'm going to go to Drew. I'm going to go to his team. There's trust there. Kind of that brand thing we talked about in the beginning is paying off now when I'm trying to do these mergers or a lot of times I'm merging. So if I have a warehouse in place and I have the marketing team in place and I have everything in place, acquiring another brand is really not a huge lift for us if it's already in place. So I'm cutting costs a lot by vertically integrating and just adding it to what we're already doing. And that's been a lot of fun. So I find something that I think has opportunity. Maybe they have a great D2C brand. They're selling on their website, but they're not on Amazon, or they're not on Walmart, they're not on Chewy, they haven't expanded internationally. Looking for those opportunities and saying, hey, I think we can really add a lot of value here. And then setting a plan in place to say, hey, we want to go from 1 million to 2.5, or you don't have to have the biggest business in the world to exit it. It really needs to be a healthy business.
It has to have the cash flow. It's all about the cash flow. So I really love that you brought that up because it's something that we talk about a lot on this show, and it's something on the hearts of a lot of people is how do I actually increase that. And I just want to highlight what you said. You said you built the infrastructure for it. You have the teams. It's about the right teams. It's about having the right processes. It's stuff, folks, it's not rocket science, actually. It's understanding what you want and reverse engineering your success. And Drew has done this phenomenally. Drew, how can people reach out to you? How can they learn more? Tell us about how can they get in touch with you if they're interested in doing business with you?
Yeah, I would love to hear from anybody, even if it's not about doing business. If you're just an entrepreneur trying to get your start going, I'm on Instagram at Andrew Morgans on Instagram. That's more of my personal life, like my thoughts, books I'm reading, places I'm traveling, more of like that, just like personal Drew. But businessmarknology.com, it's a mixture of marketing and technology. Made up a word, is a lot cheaper domain, so that's a little trick for anybody new. But LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, I'm everywhere, honestly.
I highly recommend you get in touch with Drew because he really is an expert in his space. He's been doing it for quite some time. He is the real deal. And he's got a lot to offer. So Drew, thank you so much for being here. And before we break for commercial, if you had one piece of advice for the entrepreneurs out there who are maybe looking at scale and they're looking at their cash flow going, I want to improve this, what would that be?
One piece of advice, looking to scale and looking at cash flow. I think sometimes like the hardest thing for me has been I think that I'm in the mode of change. I'm learning, I'm not getting too comfortable. I'm continuing to have an open mind. And then a couple years pass, and where I thought I had an open mind and was open to change, I'm really not anymore. And I'm still I'm set in my ways, doing my thing. So I know this is like a little bit of out of left field advice to that and not straightforward, but my point is, you don't know what you don't know. And this is constantly changing. You think you know and you just don't know because you've closed your mind off toward a certain thing or whatever. And so I'm not trying to toot my horn or say hire me or whatever, but in the same way I was talking about AI or anything like that, if you don't know where to start, with cash flow, like I've recently got a fractional CFO in my company. It was something I was doing myself for a very long time. I'm ready to go to the next level. And so I'm reaching out to someone to help me, right? And bringing on a fractional CFO. So to those, like if I'm giving one piece of advice, it would be take a real account of where you are, how you feel about your skills around what you're trying to do, and say, be honest with yourself. Between me and my team, do we have this skill set or do we not, to get where we want to be? And if you don't, go try to find that help and support what you do. If you don't have that ability, you don't have that cash to do that, pick up a book, find podcasts, obsess about those things, because none of us really know what we're doing out here is the best thing I could say, especially in the e-commerce space where everything changes. What you knew is now not there, so how can you say? So it's just about getting into it, really caring, being passionate about it, and I think once you have your focus locked in, your plan, and if you need help getting a plan, get the plan. But once you have the plan, the focus, whether that's cash flow or scaling, you'll be good.
Fantastic. You guys heard it here. Sage advice. If you don't have it on your team, it's about doing an autopsy. Do an autopsy of your business. Understand where are your gaps. Be real. Look at yourself hard in the mirror. Be objective about it and say, do I have the skill sets on my existing team? And if not, go out and get it or hire somebody who can help you with that. Read a book, educate yourself. We are always learning and growing. Business is ever changing, but the fundamentals are the same. So that is here. You heard it here. Reach out to Drew, and we do have to take a brief break, but we will be right back after these messages with our AI segment of the week.